Welcome back. In the last video, I taught you how to throw a punch. That's all well and good, but there's a lot more to it than that. If you can punch someone, you can at least try to deter an attacker. But what if your surprise jab doesn't take the fight out of them? What then? Well, then you've got to do some more vigorous activity, shall we say. If you have to defend yourself, you need to be able to make sure you don't get hurt in the process. Throwing a punch is all well and good, and that's a key step. But next, we're going to work on how to maintain your balance and how to maintain your footing. You can throw a punch from pretty much any angle, any position, and it's a critical thing to do, a critical thing to know how to do. But you're not going to get the most out of your punch if your footing is all over the place. Excuse me. For that, what we're going to do is we're going to work on our stances today. And the stick is just simply because I've hurt myself in the past, and if I get down on the ground, I might need help getting up. Got to be gentle with yourself. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to stretch out. We're going to take our hands and arms and reach them as far up above our head as we can. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And as you let your breath out, lower your arms. I'm going to step a little this way. All right, I'm actually going to tilt the camera a little bit so you can actually see a little more of me. There we go. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. All right. Stretch out like we did in the last video. Again, you don't want to hurt yourself when you're doing this. Stretching out the shoulders by doing this arm over your chest thing. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And stretch in the other direction. Hand on your hip. Reach as far as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And take breaths in and keep breathing. Next, we're going to stretch our back forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to do this again because what you're trying to do, trying to stretch the backs of your knees, and you're trying to stretch out your back. If you can relax your neck while you're doing this, do it. I can't right now because of this headset. All right, now that you got your knees stretched out, if you need to loosen them up a little bit like I do, just, kick them out a little bit. Now we're going to be taking our ankle and stretching behind us. If you need something to brace against during this, again, do what you got to do. I'm going to brace against this wall. I'm going to take my right leg by the ankle. I'm going to stretch as far back as I can. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly down. And other side. Stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back and down. Alrighty. Roll your ankle. circles around, big circles, just 10 circles, and reverse the direction. You want to make sure you do it both clockwise and anti-clockwise on both angles because you don't want to damage one. Five, six, seven, 8, 9, and 10. Shake it out. If you want to do floor stretches, I highly recommend them, but for expediency's sake today, I am going to call it there on my stretching. And we're going to start with just a standard pose. What you're trying to do, you're trying to get your feet shoulder width apart, feet straight in front of you, parallel, and you want to just rest all of your weight on your knees and your hips, and you want to just lower your center of mass as much as you can. And this is a very stable stance, very basic, and this is the one where you can practice your punches without too much issue. It's not terribly good for kicks. It's not terribly good for repositioning necessarily, but it is stable. And again, if you've got someone who can help you practice, help you test and build up yourself, you'd want someone to just push on you. Just try and resist that. Just try and keep your stance no matter how much someone just shoves you, tries to move you from this position. And from the side, you got to get your feet shoulder width apart, parallel, and just down into it. And notice how my knees are bent and my hip is slightly bent. It might be a little difficult to see with the clothes the way they are, but my back is also straight. Again, knees bent at, we'll say, a 15-degree angle. Precision isn't the important part here. It's about what's comfortable and what's stable for you. Bear that in mind. And that's a basic upright stance. Next, we're going to go to what I call a forward stance. We're going to go from that basic upright stance. I'm going to set this down for this. Hands on your hips. You're going to take your left foot or your right foot and step forward. And again from the side, parallel, and then right foot, step forward. Important things to note about this stance. It's a lot lower than the last one, but it's a lot more sturdy for it. Your right knee, my left knee, your knee is bent and you're putting as much of your weight forward as you can on that leg. Your back leg is straight, ideally, and I'm twisting a lot, so that's making this a lot more complicated for me. But your back leg is straight. Your foot is trying to maintain as much contact with the ground, and mind you, your foot is not straight in this stance. If you look closely at my foot here, it's actually at roughly a 45-degree angle to the straight. It is not parallel. This stance is great for moving forward, for catching someone who's bull rushing you. You're able to maintain a lower center of gravity and are able to push back against anything coming at you. The downsides are if you get too low into that stance, if someone is able to push through you, they're just going to take you right down. So you got to be comfortable with that one. That one is great for kicks. And there's plenty of other stances that we can teach you. And again, I want you at home to practice all of these. Doesn't have to be every single day, but at least once a week. You cannot use this if you don't practice it. And I'm not saying you can't use it because you're not allowed. Far from it. I'm saying you won't be able to utilize it to its full potential if you don't have your body trained for it. Next, I'm going to go into another stance that's called the L stance, and it'll be pretty obvious why. I'm actually going to be stepping back into this one. And this stance is a little more backwards. Your front leg is bent slightly, not as steeply as the last one. And your back leg is perpendicular. It's a 90-degree angle from parallel. And I'm going to do it from this side and back. And you're noticing this leg is straight this way and this leg is straight that way. It's a 90-degree angle. My center of gravity is lower. It's allowing me to hold this position a little more readily. And I'm feeling a lot of built-up tension in this leg, and that's actually important here, because this is a good stance to bring up into a good kick. And again, all of these you need to practice. There's lots of different ways to practice these in your everyday life. You can practice them while doing dishes. You can practice them like I do during yard work. Yoga is a good way to maintain pretty much all of your body, but you do need to practice. And one of the ways to practice is through forms. I'm going to teach you one last stance while I do this form for you, while I teach you this particular pattern. And this is also going to go into a couple of other things. All right. I'm going to start at the ready stance, the vertical stance. And we're going to go forward. Step 1 is into a forward stance. Step 2 is back up into a vertical stance. Step 3 is a forward stance. And then step 4. Step 4, what we're looking for here is your feet roughly about twice shoulder width apart. And you're going to get yourself down. You're going to lower your center of gravity. And you're going to hunch forward slightly. Twice shoulder width apart, down and forward some. You notice how all of my body weight is leaning forward somewhat, and it's as low to the ground as I can manage with my knees and hips the way they are. And also because these shoes don't have a whole lot of traction on this floor. It's a very sturdy stance, and like the forward stance, it's great for bracing yourself. It's a great way to get power for things like punches and uppercuts and kicks. And yes, I realize that was an elbow, not a kick. But anyway, we're going to go over this form again, starting from the ready stance, the vertical stance. 1, with your left foot. 2, 3, with the right foot. And then 4, back into horseback. And then 5, we're doing an L stance. 6, we're doing another L stance. 7 is back into vertical stance. And then 8 is you relax. Relaxing doesn't necessarily mean sitting down like this, but what you need to do, you need to practice all of these moves. All of these stances are important, and again, if you can safely do so, bear in mind we are in the middle of a pandemic, having a practice partner will allow you to test your stances, will allow you to get more confident in what you're doing. It's not easy becoming skilled at self-defense, but it is worth it, if for nothing else than the peace of mind that you earn. On that note, don't forget to be drinking water while you do this. And practice your stances. Don't forget to practice your punches, and don't forget to stretch. And I will catch you on the next episode.